Welcome to the Business Renovator. Today we're going to have an interview. We have a guest. I'm really excited about this. The title for today is Tales from a Road Warrior. We're going to share some stories about being a sales professional for the last several decades. But before I do that, I'm going to come on so you can see me, Coach Phil for the Business Renovator. And I also want to start off with Customer Delight. It's written by a friend of ours, Brian Monahan, and he always has a quote from somebody who's got a powerful quote, and then Brian's always got a take on it. So innovation is creativity with a job to do. Innovation is creativity with a job to do. John Emmerling. So Brian's take on that is, ooh la la, I like this one. Where have you been my whole life, John Emmerling? Early in my career, I created a website called The Idea Maniac, which was all about compiling creative ideas and solutions to problems. This was a fun idea, but it left a lot to be desired. It didn't have an action item or component, and innovation requires action. So nothing wrong with the brainstorming, but as I was matured, I've learned that creativity without a job or a focus is like a seed for a tree that never gets planted. I like to think delight is creativity with a customer to serve. So without any more delay, I'm going to bring on our guest today and add him to the show. Hey, welcome, Randy Chaffee.
Hey.
I'm really excited that you were able to fit us into your schedule today.
Well, it's my pleasure, Phil. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Like I said to you when I invited you, we just wanted to talk about the title here is, Tales from a Road Warrior. You're more of a road warrior than I am. I've done a little bit of that in my travel, being a salesperson. And maybe there's an idea or two or a story, funny, anecdotal, that we can share with our audience. But before I get you to jump in and talk about that kind of stuff, maybe you could introduce yourself.
Sure. Thanks. Yeah. Well, you hit on it earlier. Thank you for using the word decades, because that sounds less long than how many years it's really been.
Yeah, I agree.
Because decades, some people might convince, or you might be convinced that's only like 2 decades when it's like 2x. But anyway, yes, so Phil, I'm a manufacturer's rep. I have a manufacturer's rep agency and we rep product in the metal roofing component industry throughout parts of North America. I've been in this kind of industry one shape or form for decades, and and we're going to chat as we go through this next half hour. I am the road warrior of road warriors, if you will. That's been my nature up until, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, shortly, but up until COVID hit. And that was an impetus to really change the way I go about things, to hybrid it, if you will. And so, I've been doing this since I've been about 18 years old. So that's a little bit of time so far, because I just turned 30, right? Phil, that's when you're supposed to say yes. There you go. Okay. Anyway,
yeah, I'm 29.
Yeah, I understand. But I've been doing this. This has been my life forever, and love to talk sales. Love to talk customer engagement. It's what I do, man. So
you said you started when you were 18. So how did you get started in the sales profession?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I started with my dad. We grew up on a farm in a small little cow town. I call it 1,201 people. The sign flipped over when the 4 of us left town at about 30. Had a family then. It flipped over to 1197 as we went out the city limits the last time. Just so small little town. I'd like to say that I grew up there, but I haven't grown up. So I was born and raised there. Because Phil, when you hit 60, if you haven't grown up, you don't have to. That's a law. That's a rule, and one that I adhere to. So my dad had a business in kind of the farm and ag related. So I sold way back in the day buildings, metal frame buildings, post frame buildings, grain bins, those kind of things, pretty much all agriculture related. And it's funny, as I look back, I learned a lot from my dad about hard work, and we'd go sell in the day and go pull milkweeds out of the corn rows and run from snakes at night, in the evenings, after work. So pretty good work ethic. The work ended when the work ended, not just because it's 5 o'clock. But I remember starting the road warrior career. Back in those days, if I had an hour and a half travel, I thought that was a long trip. And nowadays, I have an hour and a half travel between appointments or more. So it's really expanded. But that's where the start came, was selling in home or on the farm, if you will, to customers' buildings, shop buildings, animal buildings, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where it started.
So doing that kind of growing up on the farm and having that work ethic, I'm thinking that the road part of the warrior started right away, because being on a farm, it's not like being in a city. You can go one block and down another block. Now it's like miles to the next farmhouse, right?
Oh, it is. And so we were 3.5 miles out of this little town. And if we wanted to go back when I was young, if we wanted to go to a McDonald's, anything really back in the day, it was about 20 to 25 miles in 4 different directions. They were, there's 4 different, we called big cities, which were maybe a 7,000-8,000 people, right? Mm-hmm. So, but they at least had a McDonald's or a Big Boy or a movie theater or something. I mean, my little town I grew up in had nothing. So yeah, I early on, you grab the boys, throw them in the car to go to McDonald's. That was a 25-minute ride. So yeah, so I suppose that probably helped. It's different than just walking a block and a half down to whatever you want in the city, right? You're right. It's a different mentality, and so travel has never been an issue for me. But I do remember when I first became an on-the-road guy, not with my dad, I had Michigan and half of Ohio, the western half. And when that company, I was a company guy at the time for a manufacturer, when they wanted me to take the other half of Ohio, I remember going, wow, that's a long way, all the way over to Youngstown. I mean, man, that's a lot of extra travel. Now that's just a day trip, so it's all your concept in your mind, right? Once you accept. And now I cover 18 states on a pretty regular basis and think nothing of it. So, it's incremental, and that's something I talk about sometimes, depending on where discussions lead. But I'm a big believer in incrementalism, and I was lucky to not just get thrown off the 84th floor of a building and have to learn to fly on the way down. I kind of had an opportunity to maybe jump off the first floor, and kind of then the third, and then the fifth, and it's kind of been an excursion into what I do now.
Yeah, you said something that I had an earlier live event. A live event was me, because I do one every morning for about 10, 15 minutes. And the one today was about mindset and perception. And you just talked about that right now. When you just said was a long way at the beginning, then once you started doing that and you changed your thinking about it, you realize it's just a day trip. It's not that big a deal. So moving from that, learning that it's not such a big deal, mindset, shifting that, where did you go from that growth to the next part of your journey?
Well, I had an opportunity back in the day when I was a company guy for a manufacturer to I had a mentor of mine that said, you need to become a rep, an independent rep. And for those that don't know, the difference between a company guy, right, is you rep that company, you're an employee. You're paid a salary, a commission or a bonus or whatever, and you get insurance, you get a company car, or you get a car allowance, and all those things, right? As an independent rep, it's straight commission. You eat what you kill, as they say, right? If I sell a lot, I get paid a lot. If I sell nothing, I get paid nothing. So you're really, and all your expenses are your own. And a lot of guys have a hard time. Hey, good morning, Brian. A lot of guys have a hard time, and I get it. It's a leap of faith to make that jump, because you're putting all your eggs in your own basket. But I have never had an issue of self-confidence in myself. And so I went to this company and asked them to let me become a rep. And because I already had, through a buddy of mine, 2 other manufacturers, which I'm still with, and this goes back 25 years now, lined up to immediately sign agreements with. So, and when I did that, I took on some more states. So basically, I went from a company guy and a guarantee of something to next month I have a guarantee of nothing. And that's not totally true because I already had some business built, right? So it's not like I started with nothing, but there's no guarantees. There's no salary check coming on the 15th of the month. The 15th of next month, there's a commission check coming if I sold something. And
Right.
while I'm traveling, I'm going to spend dinner for pizza and donuts and drinks and gas and hotels and flights is all coming out of Randy's pocket. And you want to talk about a mindset change. That's a big one to wrap your head around when you go from that real comfort level. But I could never have the freedom, the flexibility, and I'll be brutally honest, the financial part of it without making that leap. So,
Yeah, I totally get that. In my profession, I'm in the coaching space. That's why I'm called Coach Phil. I don't know if anybody figured that out. And I did that because people have trouble saying my last name. It's not that hard, but if you don't know it, it's really hard. So to make life easier, I've changed it to that. So that's kind of a tangent and a segue. Coming back though, what you've just explained to me is what I've already known, and what I believe is that the sales professional is a wonderful profession. You can do the lowest paying easy work or the highest paying busy work, challenging work. And that's what you do. That's why I'm glad you were able to fit yourself into here today. And one of the things where the people I work, where they're working for a company with a base salary plus bonus or commission, I get them all to think just like you in terms of you're self-employed. It's your own business, whether you've actually got an LLC or not in the US or a corporation in Canada. And whatever else the legal entity might be around the world, it really doesn't matter. It's a mindset that if you own the business, you get to make the choices, the decisions. You get to decide how much effort you want to put in. You get to decide, are you going to invest in yourself to make your life better? You get to decide what you're going to do and what your brand is, right?
Oh, exactly. And one of the things that I enjoy about getting a little bit older, besides not being dead, right? I mean, that's a huge plus, right? Is that I get to spend some time with some younger guys, and I do enjoy doing a little mentoring. Maybe that sounds like a bigger word than it really is, but I remember a couple conversations with a couple of younger guys that's in the sales world and in the same industry as I. And what you just said, Coach Phil, is 100% right. I know these guys were company guys, right? They were salary, commission, company car, all that. But I told them exactly what you just said, and it's a great point. So I said, if your name's Aaron, you got to look at it as Aaron Inc., right? Aaron Incorporated. You are the product. You are the brand, I should say. And you got to sell yourself, because we all sell ourselves first, because people buy from people, right? So just because you work for a manufacturer, end of the day, they're going to buy from you. They're going to buy from me. And so you got to be selling yourself. And if you sell yourself, the rest all comes into play. And then that mindset comes into play. Is like you said, you still set your own schedule for the most part, even if you're a company guy. You can determine how hard you're going to work, how engaged you're going to be. And if you can do that, you can be successful, whether you're a company guy or whether you're an independent rep. You kind of get forced to be maybe a little more that way of thinking as an independent, maybe because you have nothing to fall back on. And I happen to love that. I would never want to be, and I'm not knocking that decisions by people, but for me, I don't want any cap. I don't want a cap. I want to be able to be as successful as I can be based on my own. I'd look at that like being a basketball player, a professional, let's say, and you say, well, but you can only score 25 points and then we're pulling you out. Well, but what if I'm having a great night and I'm capable of scoring 40 points, right? And that's how I look at it from a standpoint of what I do and manufacturers that get it, and I've worked for some great ones, they love writing checks, right? Because it's a cost of sale and they know what it is. And the bigger the check they write me, the more money they made, right? So it's a real win-win.
Before we go to that one, actually, somebody else popped in here. Barry says, you take the risk to do something amazing and help more people. You deserve the rewards, independent or employed. You can work to be the best. Absolutely right. That's kind of what we're talking about here.
Yep.
Thanks for posting that up. Very appreciate that. I want to go back to what Bruce said, because I do want you to share maybe some of the things that you've done in terms of prospecting and developing your business, because you don't just usually don't get handed a list of customers. Sometimes you do, but not often. But even if you do, you need to expand them. So Bruce's question is, he's asking, what's your best strategy to get in the door with a new prospect? And I'm thinking maybe we should address that under current circumstances. What have you found to be that works for you lately?
Well, hey, good morning, Bruce and Barry. Yeah, good question. And yeah, staying with today's world, because in the past, it was literally door to door, right? I'm not door to door, but you'd find somebody, however you found them, and literally call or make an appointment or drive out and see them. And the one thing about the COVID scenario, if you will, because everybody talks about it, it is what it is, that I don't want to say forced me, but allowed me to make some changes because I had no choice. All of a sudden, I went from airport to airport and rental car to rental car, hotel to hotel, week to week to week to week, to I'm home. And I don't know how long I was going to be at home. As it turned out, longer than I thought. So I had to figure out. And I figured it out for the good, because my prospecting abilities went up 10x probably, maybe more. It's hard to, I haven't been able to really quantify that. But with using some of the things that we all talk about in our groups, Bill, and you and I and Bruce and Barry are all friends in a group, using virtual. A year ago, I would have said, what are you talking about? What do you mean virtual? What do you mean making a video and send it to somebody? Are you out of your mind? I would have been the typical old school, but I grasped that pretty quickly. And so Bruce, what I do now is when I augment my travels. I still travel, but not near as much. And morning, Eric, I do not make cold calls anymore. I haven't made a cold call on a customer in a long time now, because I warm them up via virtual. We kind of know each other before I make that first visit to them. My first visit in person is sometimes after 2, 3, 4 of these sort of things right here, face to face, chatting, getting to know each other. And all of a sudden you walk in and you recognize them across the room, because you build a relationship already. So the sales cycle, I think, is still early enough into this that I don't know that I can say this at 100%, but I feel pretty confident that the sales cycle is going to be much shorter. Because go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. You got lots to say, and I'm trying to get as much out of you as possible.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to go back though, because you said something that I'm a real believer in, and what I do with my clients. And some people don't need a coach, and some people desperately need a coach. And you said something about when this changed, the COVID situation happened. So that one of my mentors taught me that when those kind of things show up, whether it's a financial economic collapse or interest rates are crazy high or it's a pandemic, those kind of things, there's two things that happen. It's an impact, or there's a constant space repetition approach to changing. With the two things that people can choose to do is they can hunker down, batten down the hatches, and hope whatever this disaster is blows over them and they can come back up and everything comes back to normal. And it's never the same, because unless it's Groundhog Day, the movie, it's kind of the same. And then the other option is that you could take responsibility, and I spell responsibility or response. Yeah, response hyphen ability. So you can choose to respond with ability, which is what you said in plain English. You said, well, I chose to do some things differently. And that's the that's the mindset of a powerful leader, because you don't have to. You didn't have to do that. You could have hunkered down and did nothing, but you chose to take responsibility and make lemonade out of the lemon that we were delivered in 2020. And I just want to make sure that we talk about that. That's maybe all I have to say about it. But it's the language we say to ourselves really makes an impact on our outcomes. And you're a prime example of that. And I think the people in the group that you're referring to, hashtag Megamind, is we all kind of think that same sort of way. And we're not looking for excuses not to be successful. Oh, perfect. He's going to, hey, wait, let me go big. Let me go big.
Look at that.
We look for solutions to the challenges that we face and turn them into opportunities. And how can we serve and how can we show up in a way that we're having a positive impact on people that we work with? And it could be family members as well. It's not always about work. So I want to make sure that we capture that for people who are listening today and in the future. That's brilliant that you brought that up. That's absolutely brilliant.
Well, and I think and it's interesting because you hit a point that I really liked, is that I like visuals, and a visual of, like, I can see the groundhog or people during the pandemic. I can literally see these people coming up with their head out of the ground and looking around and trying to figure out what happened. No, you should peek out once in a while, see what's happening. Go back in your hole if you need to, because we had a hole we was in. We couldn't get out of it. That was the difference with the pandemic. The hole was we couldn't travel.
Hmm.
So as a sales guy, that can either be the death of you, or you go back in your hole for a minute and you reevaluate, you reanalyze, you figure out, how do I come out of this? And this I've always said winners will win. And so you go back in your hole, you find out how you're going to win, and you come out with a plan that's even better. And to go back for a minute, because I think it ties into what you just said. I remember back in 2008, I think it was, when we was going into the teeth of the recession, right?
Mm-hmm.
Going to be awful. And I remember being in New York State at a little distributor open house, standing around the tables, the little tabletop displays. We've all done those if you're in the sales world. And I remember several rep buddies, company guys, whatever, but sales guys. And everybody's talking when there's no customers around. Oh, man, it's going to be awful. It's going to be awful. Yeah. And so, you know what all of them said? Yeah, we're going to hunker down. I'm not traveling. This is it. When I get home from this, we're done. I'm not going to travel. And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I'm going to travel more, because they just gave me their business. These guys are competitors. You just told me that you asked free business now because I'm not even going to fight you for it. So while you go hunker down, pull the pillow over your hole, and hope it gets better someday again, I spent more time on the road for that year or so than probably ever. Just went after every one of these customers.
So that's that proactiveness in you taking responsibility and being creative.
What you got to do, and you can do that with, like you said earlier, whether it's family, whether you're an employee. How do you move up the ranks with a company if you're an employee? You take risks, you calculated risk, but you grab more responsibility, you demand responsibility, right? You almost make the boss give you more. You just take it from them, right? And it's the same thing you do in anything. You either engage, and that's something I talk about sometimes, and I've done a couple of walk and talks and talked about, and I'm big on engagement versus existing. Too many people exist. Too many people exist versus engage. And if you engage, you can make anything you want happen. But if you exist, you're waiting for it to happen to you, if that makes sense. And
yeah, totally. I've heard you talk about those on your power walks, and you share your wisdom. That's why I'm excited that you're here today. I'm going to ask you a couple of pointed questions.
Sure.
Pointed at you, the questions, that is. Right. You stirred up a whole bunch of things, and I could talk about some of my ideas and experiences, but this is really, I want to extract what you have. Some of my experiences, if people want to hear what they're or I actually have some digital booklets that I can make available for anybody who wants it. Just go to my email address. I can't do the weather guy very good. Phil@coachfield.ca. Send me a message and say, hey, send me a digital book. Just put digital book. The one I'm thinking of right now is Get Out of the Ain't It Awful Club, which is basically what you just said. I won't go into the story, but if you want to know the story, I wrote about it, and you can have a look at it there. So what I wanted to ask you is, what is it you like least about being in the sales profession?
Wow, that's a tough one. I'm usually not stumped, but that's an easy answer. Like I took me this long to think about it. On its worst day, it's awesome.
That's what you like least about it?
That's the least because there is nothing. There's nothing.
That's okay. I'm not questioning your answer. I just want to make sure the audience understood what you.
I was thought about it for a minute, but I don't mind the travel when I'm traveling. I've learned to be virtual, and I like that. Love people, and I've been doing this for so long that some of my customers, I've went to they're now in that second, third generation, right, where the 23-year-old kid is kind of running the business and dad's still around, or they're together, or whatever the case may be. But I went to this kid's 8th grade graduation from Mennonite school, right? So I mean, it's like these guys are friends. I literally, when I'm on the road, I'm just going and seeing friends every day, and getting paid to do it. It's not a bad gig, right? And
cool.
But it takes a long time to build that, and you have to be engaged. And that's back to that word again. But
yep,
I know a lot of guys that sales guys that wouldn't even know that one of their best customers' kid's a state champion cross country guy, right? They just wouldn't know that because they don't engage with them.
Yeah.
And that's silly, because your work life is such a big part of your life that if you don't entangle the two together, my work life and home life and personal, they all are intertwined. That's the word I want. And so, maybe probably trade shows. Let me put it this way. I found a small answer for you. That probably national trade shows are something that are starting to wear on me a little bit. And good news or bad news, so many of them are being canceled or still canceled. I've got the first one now. I usually would do 8-10 of them in a winter. I think I might have 2 or 3 this year's off, if those still remain. A lot of guys look at those as, it's a chance to be there with your customers. Well, if you're engaged, you're with your customers anyway. I don't need to go to Denver for a trade show just to be with my customers, because if you need to do that, you're not doing your job, right? You just
so if I heard you right, there is something you prefer not to do as trade shows. Is that what I heard?
If I could avoid them, but I can't, yeah. So I do them, okay. and I work them, and I work them hard. And okay. When I come out of that green room and it's time to, like the Johnny Carson green room, right? And you put your sport coat on and your dress slacks on, and when you walk in that door to the trade show, it's trade show Randy, right? We live it, we love it, we own it, right? You go do it. But do I love that? Not necessarily.
Fair enough. Because I mean, there's things I like about what I do more than other things that I are required to get to where I want to get to. That's when I want to address that question. Before I go to the next question, short answer: how do your customers respond to your social media presence in 30 seconds?
Excellent. And in my industry, I have a real plus, more than some, is nobody does what I do, really, in my industry. My industry is a good old boy network, kind of. And so nobody posts much. And if they do, it's just some kind of content like, here's a product and gee, isn't this great? That part's good too. So the social media, Kellen, thank you for the question. That response has been great. I love doing it. And not only will I not stop, I'm going to pick the game up.
Okay. So what do you like the most about being a road warrior?
Kind of what I touched on earlier. I love being with my friends. And the cool part is they're friends that pay me. You know, I mean, it's a win-win, right? I just
Yeah.
enjoy these people. I enjoy the interaction with these people. I just, it's just, when I'm traveling, for example, it's every single day I'm with 4, 5, 6 friends. And that's only because I took the effort to build that into a friendship as opposed to just being their sales guy, if that makes sense.
Look at this, Randy. Look at the kudos you're getting. Randy, you should be a presenter at every trade show, and the young guys should attend.
Wow, Ray. Just because I let you off the hook this morning on our Zoom call, you don't have to say all those nice things, buddy. But thank you.
And Barry pops up here and says, "Great idea. Do it your way." I love that.
You got to find your own way, and because I had a guy that's an interesting one, Phil, if you don't mind, quick. Young guy I worked with years ago as a customer, and now he's a customer out in Montana, and we sat in his office in Ohio. Young guy, he's like only 34 now, so he was really young when we started chatting. And he's talking about how should I do this and what would you do? And I said, I'm going to tell you what I would do, but I said, don't do Randy, because you can't do it. And I didn't mean that as cocky. I can't do you either, right? You've got to do you. That's the important thing. I will fail at you, and you will fail at me. I can give you some ideas. I can give you some concepts. But the biggest thing I'd say to any young guy is just go be you. And remember, if your name's Bill, be Bill. And remember, it's Bill Inc., right? You do that, you're heads above anybody else.
What you're saying is making me laugh, not at you. It reminds me of Gabe Kaplan.
Everybody does.
It reminds me of Gabe Kaplan, who was trying to get back on the stage after Hello, Cotter. Was that the name of the TV show? Anyway, he was in Vegas.
Welcome back, Cotter.
Yeah, welcome back, Cotter. And he was in Vegas trying to get a gig, and there was a guy doing him. And he went up to the entertainment manager to say, "Hey, I can do him." He says, "How can you do him? He does him really good." "Yeah, but I am him." Anyway, that's a YouTube skit you could go and listen to, and I encourage anybody that's listening to this, if you want to have a giggle, if you're having a tough time, humor is a great way to raise your spirit. Go watch that one and see him, listen to him do himself talking about somebody else trying to do him, and he couldn't get the gig because the guy who was doing him better than he could do him, according to the man. So you can only be the best you, and that's great sage advice. I love this thing, and I've heard you say it, and I've read it a couple of times. If we don't sell it, you don't need it. So if you want to get a hold of this lovely gentleman and see what he's all about, source1marketingllc.com, and that's his website, correct? And then look at this. He's on Facebook. Two older guys. We're young in spirit, though. We're open to new things. That's why we became part of the Megamind group, and that's how I got in, because they thought I was younger than what I was, but it was really good. Megamind, there we go. So I buy from Randy. That's a great brand. That's really creative. I know your heart's in the right place, and you're very solution oriented. Oh yeah, I want to go back to this, and this is why you should talk to Randy, because the thing that sets Randy apart is his commitment to each and every customer success. I didn't write that. I took that off as one of his testimonials. I just see a couple of questions here. I'm going to go see what they're asking us. Kellen's giving you kudos. Oh, she's giving us kudos to both. We appreciate that. Love you, Kellen.
Thank you, Kellen.
What's Ray got to say? I'll pop it up. That we're not old guys. We are seasoned. Absolutely. We're like fine wine. That's another. We could have a conversation about that, and you could educate us all about the wine in your region, because you're a wine aficionado, right?
Well, I'm a wine lover.
He loves wine. That's cool. What did I want to put up here? Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you were to give a little bit of advice to somebody that's either new in the sales profession or thinking about jumping in, what would you offer up?
Well, and when we've talked about this a lot in our Megamind group. I don't know why I like doing that.
That's good. I like doing it too.
But is we talk about this a lot. It's kind of an old cliche, but bring value and then bring value. You got to put the customer first, and remember that what the customers all have tremendous amounts of options to buy anything any of us have. Right? There's other coaches out there. There's other guys that sell screws and barn door track and all this goofy stuff that I sell. There's other people that do pizza stuff that our friend Eric Bam's involved with, and like Barry, and with advertising specialties and promotional stuff. There's tons of people that do whatever we do. So again, it comes back. I don't mean to keep going back to that, but I think it's very important, is engagement and sell the brand. And the brand is Coach Phil in your case, right? That's the brand. And in my case, the brand is Randy. The brand is Randy, and that's what I sell. And if I could give any one word of advice, and also look at it as a lifestyle. If you're going to be in sales, my opinion, Phil, but it needs to be a lifestyle, not a job, not even a career. It's a lifestyle, and you're either in that lifestyle or you're not in the lifestyle. Now, I'm not saying you can't have some success if it's not a lifestyle, but if you want real success, you want to be top game, it's just got to be you. It's got to be you, because I sell no products. I sell Randy. If I sell Randy well enough, they will buy the products I have, assuming their quality's right, and all the other things that just go without saying. And so that anybody, but probably the biggest of all that still comes back to, just be you, engage, love your customers, love what you do. Don't be afraid to make the phone call on Saturday at 3:00. Don't be afraid to make the phone call at 9:00 in the evening, because your customer just got home from his son's softball game. Make the text, shoot the video. Hey, how'd Billy do tonight? Let me know. Don't have to do those things, but that's going to be the difference maker between you, whoever you is, me, and the next knucklehead that just sort of wanders in once in a while with a box of donuts or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but.
No, it totally makes sense. I just want to go back to where my quote I just had there, and I can't seem to find it. So if I can't find it, it's not getting back up there. But basically, it was around changing our mindset. Oh, you know why I can't find it? Got to be in the right place in the StreamYard. There you go. That's why you need a Bruce producing your shows for you, Phil, because then he could just be doing that for you, and everything's cool. But this is one of my favorite mentors, and it's a philosophy that I use in my own life, my own business, and the people that I serve. Change the way you think, and you'll change the way you run your life. And I think COVID-19, for those of us that are in the Megamind group for sure, and a few other people we know, have done that. We've changed the way we think about the way we deliver things. We changed the way we approach what's going on, and we've reinvented ourselves to address the challenges that we face. We are somebody that provides value to the communities that we serve. And because of that, I met you guys. I met you, Randy. I wouldn't have probably found, if it wasn't for COVID-19, I wouldn't have been on Facebook looking for other people to connect to. So change the way you think, you'll change the way you run your life, which means that you can serve more people, provide higher value, and in result of doing that, you earn more. And if you earn more, you can learn more. And if you want to earn more, you can actually do need to learn more. And that's what you and I have done. So last leaving comment, what would you like to say to the audience as we wrap this up?
One, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me, Phil. And remember, there's a little, I'll make this a little saying that I came up with as I tried to do as I went into the rabbit hole of COVID, right? And I coined a phrase of the hybrid Randy hybrid 2.5 amazing, which is because I don't like normal. I know Bam came up, our buddy Eric Bam came up with now normal, which I think is the best if you're going to use the word normal. Our friend Brian Monahan, the book that you plugged at the start, he has a group called the New Amazing. I like any derivative of other than old normal and new normal, because none of that makes sense to me. What you need to do, I think, is to take the old normal. I got to use it now. Take the old normal and the new normal, and you hybrid it into a, as Eric Bam likes to say, a now normal. And because today's today, moving forward. And if you do that, and then you remember my last little thing is I come up with it, and I got to work on the T part, TEA, iced, ICED. And I just made this up for myself. I think I did a post on it one day, and I'm probably going to do a walk and talk on it. But I'm big on incrementalism. And so ICE stands for incrementally compound engagement daily. And real quickly, everything happens incrementally typically, right? We all know the story of the frog, and if you put them in water that's 200 degrees, 50, 70, 80 degrees, and you keep turning it up, all of a sudden he'll boil to death and doesn't even know it. But you just throw him in, he'll flop right back out, right? So incremental. You usually don't get accounts instantly, and you usually don't lose them instantly, right? It's incremental things. And compounding, I love compounding. Every time you throw wins on the pile, I talk about that a lot. Just keep compounding what you're doing. Engagement, I've talked about. Engaged don't exist. I talked about this the other day on a walk and talk. Who gets up in the morning, looks in the mirror, and says, "You know what, Phil? Today, I'm going to be mediocre." Do you do that? No, we don't do that. So quit doing that. Don't live your life that way. Don't exist mediocre. I'm going to be C+ today, maybe if I work hard. No, I'm going to engage, and I'm going to be the best. And then finally, in my iced is daily. Just do it all the time. Every day, get up and be iced. So I want to use that. I don't know what I'm going to use it for down the road, but I got to come up with tea, because I think iced is whatever iced tea is. I can't, just got a nice ring to it. But so for now, we're just going to talk iced. Yes, I am wound up. I am wound up for the rest of the day, Eric Bam.
Well, I'd love to, but he's got a road trip. He's got to leave here in a few minutes to take his family away to do some other things. He was able to fit himself into my schedule today, and I'm truly grateful for that. I've enjoyed getting to know you even more today, but every day, every week, I learn something cool about you. And whether we talk directly or if it's listening to your posts, I'm always learning something from you, as well as the rest of the people we hang out with. So I'm grateful for you being here. I really do appreciate it, my friend. And I wish you a wonderful, healthy weekend, and go Mega Minders.
You're welcome. Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it. And you know what? When you get tired of doing this every day, do a cooking show. I watched you cook the other night. That was amazing.
That was supposed to be secret.
I know. It's the secret's out. We need a Coach Phil. Cooking with Coach Phil. There it is.
Very done. Perfect. That'll be the next one. Thanks, buddy.
Perfect. Thanks, buddy.